Hi, I'm Brant, and what you're about to hear is an interview I recorded in October of 2022 when Fabi and I were visiting the island of Zanzibar, which is off the east coast of Africa. We were seeing friends there, our good friends Haji and Franchi, who founded and operate a nursery and elementary school for the kind of African children that you see in this picture. I was interviewing Haji about the school when I got distracted by his t-shirt. That distraction led to a really fun and interesting conversation about music, and especially the kind of music that originated from his own continent of Africa. We're talking about blues, jazz, gospel, and certainly rock and roll. One of the things I really love about travel is the opportunity to reach across a divide. And in this case, there was not only a racial divide, there was a cultural and a generational divide. And that created the opportunity to have this wonderful conversation with Haji about music. I hope you enjoy it.
Do you know who those guys are on your t-shirt?
What are they?
Who are the Blues Brothers?
Yeah. Oh, the blue.
Wait a minute.
It's like
This is
guys.
funny. Wait a minute. I have to record this. The Blues Brothers. Okay, these are the guys on your t-shirt.
You know, when I put this t-shirt on, and just 5 steps, I walk. If I meet any Muslim, but most of them, they ask me, you know, what in your t-shirt? Who are they? For the first time, my answer was no. Then he told me, this is a blue brothers. Ah, blue brothers. I say, okay, I don't ask more questions. Another one came and asked the same question. Who this be? I say yes, now I know.
Well,
The blue brothers. But who are the blue
okay,
brothers?
all right. Well, first of all, that's a dangerous question to ask me. All right. And I'll tell you that Fabi was laughing at me this morning because she said, whenever you ask Brent a question, you get a very long answer, and I don't want a long answer. I just want a short answer. But I'll give you the short answer first, and then I want to explain a little bit more because it's actually important to Africa. It's actually very important to Africa. The Blues Brothers is a movie that was very popular in the United States. And those are two fictitious characters that starred in the movie. And the movie was very popular and the characters became very popular. And that's it. That's the short answer.
Short answer.
Yeah, the short answer.
But what does the movie speak about? What is it presenting?
I only saw it, I think, once, and it was made a long time ago. So I'm working from memory, but as I recall, those two guys, which are two famous comedians, John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, they were from a famous comedy show called Saturday Night Live. And they created the characters on that comedy show, and they became so popular they made this movie. And in the movie, they are on a mission from God, okay, to find something. And I don't remember what it was, but this is where Africa actually is important, because do you know what the blues are? Do you know the music genre called the blues? Like John Lee Hooker, Howlin' Wolf, Muddy Waters. Do any of those names sound familiar to you?
No.
Okay. The blues are a style of music, and rock and roll, like the Rolling Stones, you know that.
The blues music.
Started, all of those guys, even the Beatles, they all started with the blues. Now, where did the blues come from? The blues are from African Americans. They invented the blues. They created the blues music. And they created it from their origins as African slaves. So if you follow rock and roll back to its father, it's blues. And if you follow blues back to its father, it's African music, all the way back to this country. So African people should be proud to know that they are the great-great-grandfather of rock and roll. Really. That's where rock and roll comes from. Your people, not mine. Did you know that? Yeah.
Now I know.
Without Africa, there would be no Rolling Stones. There would be no David Bowie, Nirvana, Jimi Hendrix. They wouldn't exist without your people and your music. So thank you, because I love rock and roll. And blues is the heartbeat of rock and roll. If you listen to any, like Led Zeppelin, Van Halen, all those guys started with the blues. And if you watch the movie, there's a lot of great blues music in the movie because those two guys, John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, they love the blues. But I love the blues. Blues is great music.
The origin of the blues is from Africa.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to, Negro gospel music, old folk songs, and things that were sung out in the cotton fields when the slaves were picking the cotton under the white master back in the early days of the United States, the 18th and early 19th century. And that music was the very beginning of this genre we call the blues. And the blues really started probably in the 1920s or the 1930s. That's when it really started to come along. And there's the father of what most people consider the father of the blues was a black man named Robert Johnson. And he lived in the United States in like the 1930s. And he recorded one record, very old songs, and it's one of the most famous recordings in all of music history. I think he made 14 songs, that's it. You know who's a big fan of Robert Johnson? Eric Clapton. You know Eric Clapton?
No.
No. Oh, brother, we gotta play you some Eric Clapton music, man.
Because for us, maybe not me, maybe somewhere, but American music, we just know about hip hop. This is what we catch from, listen to music from Africa, hip hop. The wine, 50 Cent. Everybody could just speak about American music, think about hip hop. This one is very.
Well, hip hop, I think, can also take its hat off to the blues, because hip hop really came from soul music, like James Brown. And James Brown was brought up in that same world, that the world of the children of American slaves, and the sounds that they heard in church, the spirituals, the rhythm, the African rhythm. This is what you hear in hip hop now. The call and response. That's straight out of Africa. You know what call and response is? Call and response is, I say something and you say something back to me. Like, if I say, man, this is a beautiful island, isn't it? You say, yeah, it is. And I say, isn't it fantastic? And you say, yeah, it is. And that is, you see a little bit of that we saw that on the beach last night. Saw that same dynamic was present in that very African dance we saw, because the audience were part of the performance. Yes?
Yes.
That's African. You go all the way through to hip hop. What do you hear? You listen carefully to hip hop music, and you hear the guy that's doing the main rapping, but there's somebody also there also talking back to him. Yeah? It's African. It's classic African. It's not from the white man.
You know what? They're going to meet to America. Now I know a lot. Before I didn't know many things about America. It's not what you know, but now it's very good to meet you. It's so nice.
It's good to meet you.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for giving us hip hop and blues and rock and roll, man. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why I love music so much, because it belongs to the world. And then, you know, white guys like the Rolling Stones, Beatles, guys like that, they took it and they took it to a new place. So they added their own, just like you and Franchi, you know, you bring something, but she brings something, and together you make something new.
Something new.
Yeah, and that's what happened with rock and roll is that the Rolling Stones were listening to black musicians, Little Richard, Howlin' Wolf. Oh, I gotta play you some Muddy Waters. Call and response.
Just a woman told my mother before I was born, you got a boy child coming.
This is blues.
This is blues. This is Muddy Waters. He's a famous blues
Gonna make
musician.
pretty women jump and shout. Then the world wanna know what this all about. But you know I'm here. Everybody knows I'm here. Well, you know the hoochie coochie man. Everybody knows I'm here. I got a black cap on. I got a mojo too. I got the
You can hear the hip hop in there. If you listen carefully, you can hear it. Hear them?
Gonna make you good. Leave me by my hand. Then the world will know that I'm a hoochie coochie man. Well, you know I'm here. Everybody knows I'm here. Well, you know the hoochie coochie man. Everybody knows I'm here.
Now, here's Muddy Waters and the Rolling Stones playing together.
Oh, baby, please don't go down, and you won't believe what I love you so.
So that's the Rolling Stones sitting out there. Big fans. Maybe they come up and play later on. That's Mick Jagger. That's Keith Richards. Those are the Rolling Stones, you know. Now, I'll show you what happens when you take blues to the next level.
This is Rolling Stone.
This is Jimi Hendrix. Now listen, this is the same blues. He just slows it way down and he throws awesome guitar on top of it. It follows a pattern. It always follows the same pattern, but they... You like it?
Yes. For me, it's really very interesting to listen to radio music, but I think everything is going like made with the same. Like
Back
this.
to the trunk of the tree, and the branches and the roots go down into the dark continent, or Africa. Now, you know, now, if you can, if you hear the pattern, then you can hear it here. But it's not easy to hear, but it's there. You just have to listen to it. By now you might know this song, but this is also the blues. Same pattern. They just mixed it up a little bit.
It's something like the moody water. The way the moody water in this song.
Yeah, Muddy Waters. Yeah, he was playing authentic blues. This is what Mzungos did with it. You know, they took it and they said, we like this. What can we do with this? And they created songs like this, which became, you know, hugely popular songs in the United States. But, you know, with white people. But what white people didn't know was that under the cover was black music. They knew it. Oh yeah, they knew it. For sure, absolutely. They all were following the black musicians back then. Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Muddy Waters, all those guys. That was the music they were listening to. And Elvis Presley, you know Elvis Presley, right? Of course, you know Elvis Presley. You don't know Elvis Presley?
Oh, all I don't know is
Elvis Presley was a very, very famous American musician from the 1950s and 60s, really. And yeah, he, you know, you might know, for example, you might know this song, let's see, this one is probably one of his most famous songs. He had many, many famous songs, but this one.
Wise men say only fools rush in,
that song?
I don't know that song, but I in my head I used to listen to this kind of song. Of the way you sing and all this.
Yeah, that's a song a lot of people know. It's actually, the melody is an old French folk song. But again, he took it and he, or somebody took it and made it into something. That's Elvis Presley right there. That's Elvis Presley. And Elvis Presley became popular, very, very hugely popular, maybe one of the most popular musicians of all time in the United States and around the world. And one thing that he was able to do was, they said, he's a white man who sounds like a black man. So he was acceptable to both, because in those days the United States, of course, was very racially divided. And there was black music and there was white music, but Elvis Presley came in and joined the two together in ways. And so, like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones were also very big fans of Elvis Presley. But Elvis Presley was also he was very influenced by the music of the African American people. He would go to the churches and the clubs and he would listen, and he was soaking into him. And then when he started performing, it came out.
Because the way he sings, mostly they sing in the church this way.
Yeah. Yeah, like maybe some of his early songs probably sound a little bit more like you'll hear it more. Now listen to this. This is just blues.
You ain't nothing but a hound dog, you cry all the time.
Follows the pattern. Blues, sung by a white man who sounds like a black man and becomes one of the most popular musicians of all time. You hear the muddy waters in there? Just 17, and you know what I mean, and the way she goes, way beyond compare. It's all there.
You look like you use your music. Like this kind of. Okay. This music still exists in America or now is finished?
Oh yeah, this music is still popular. Still popular. Yeah. If you play that song for most Americans, they'll say, "Oh yeah, I know who this is." I mean, all Americans know who Elvis is. They all know who Elvis Presley is, except for unless they're very young, I guess, because he was around in the 50s and the 60s. But yeah, I mean. But now, like, a lot of this music is starting to get rediscovered again. Like the Beatles, of course, are huge. They're still huge. And James Brown is one of his music is the most sampled music of all hip hop artists. They sample James Brown. So, in other words, sampling, you know what sampling is. They take a little piece of it, a little digital piece, and they mix it into their music. And so hip hop artists are constantly taking their hat off to James Brown and taking a little piece of his music and mixing it into theirs. So if you listen to hip hop, you actually are hearing pieces of James Brown music, which is soul. You know, he came from the world of soul. But I can show, I could, I don't want to take up all your time, but I mean, I could play you soul musicians and you would hear the same pattern. You know, some of the great soul music, you would hear the same blues pattern. So back to the Blues Brothers, you know, the Blues Brothers loved the blues music, and if you watch the movie, it's all great blues music. And they perform it. They perform the music. And it's great. It's fantastic. If you want to hear great blues music, get that movie. And it's a fun movie too. It's fun. It's a little bit of a comedy.
I will find it and I want to locate and understand very, very good.
Yeah.
Yes, brothers.
Blues Brothers.